Welcome in to the live chat. If you end up watching this later, because nobody's in here just yet. So let's take a second and wait for people to get in here. Welcome back to Occult Perspectives, though. Glad to have you here, as always. The music in the background here, the name of the video is Peaceful Sound Meditation 38, relaxing music for meditation, Zen, stress relief, fall asleep fast. It's kind of a long title. And the YouTube channel is Inner Pieces Music, as in the state of being at peace. P-E-A-C-E, not like a piece of something, if that makes sense. Welcome into the chat. Glad to have you here. Welcome in. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Gonna do a Knowledge 2020. How are you, brother? Glad to have you in here. It's been a minute since I've seen you. Glad to have you in here. So I was actually doing, I did a live stream yesterday, and I was reading from this book, The Middle Pillar by Israel Regardie. And I was trying to remember which section of the book it was where they talk about the positioning of the pillars, you know, the white and the black pillar from the Bible, from King Solomon's temple, known as Yakin or Jachin and Boaz in the Bible, King Solomon's temple. Those are the two pillars, or mercy and severity. I actually should probably go and let me grab my Tree of Life diagram really quick. If I can remember where I left it. Aha. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome to the chat. I see we have 3 people in here. All right. Here's your 2 pillars right here. But this is actually a reversed Tree of Life. It may not be reversed from the way the camera is showing it on the screen, because usually it reflects differently, but this pillar is probably on your left, which would actually be correct. If you're looking at it and this pillar is on your left, but if I'm looking at this picture, this is on the right. But the white pillar should be on the left, the black pillar should be on the right, and we'll get into why that is in just a minute. Thank you for the thumbs up, everyone. Get those thumbs ups in here. And welcome into the chat. We have 4 people already. Reading again from The Middle Pillar by Israel Regardie. I was reading some of this yesterday. And I did finally find the part in the book where it talks about why the pillar should be the pillar of mercy on the left and the pillar of severity on the right. We're going to figure this out once and for all. So, okay. Anyway, I found this section in, if you have this book or if you happen to read, you know, the PDF online of The Middle Pillar, Israel Regardie. This is from chapter 9, the pentagram. And if you go a couple pages in, you'll find a section called The Origins of the Pentagram Ritual. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram was a creation of the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn. And the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn was formed by 3 Freemasons as well. However, various portions of the ritual are found to have far more ancient sources. In the New Testament, the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6:9-13, is obviously based upon Kabbalistic principles, showing that Jesus of Nazareth, who was called Rabbi by his followers, knew his Kabbalah. This is because the Lord's Prayer is itself based on the Hebrew prayer of David from the Old Testament, found in the first book of Chronicles 29:1. The prayer of David at the foundation of the temple reads as follows: Unto thee, O Tetragrammaton, which is actually the Tetragrammaton is the sacred name of God. It's the Yod He Vav He. Are the greatness and the power and the beauty and the victory and the glory. For unto thee is everything in the heavens and the earth. Unto thee, O Tetragrammaton, is the kingdom. So this single verse mentions the name of several Sephiroth, including Hesed, which is mercy, Geburah, Tiphareth, Netzach, Hod, and Malkuth. The Lord's Prayer from the New Testament states, For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. So here specifically we're talking about the Kabbalistic cross. And this is only slightly different from the Kabbalistic cross, which states in English, Thou art the kingdom and the power and the glory, the world forever, unto the ages. Amen. So the Kabbalistic cross, Atah, at the top, when you're pulling down the divine light, is thou art. That is linked to the Sephiroth of Kether, whose divine name is I am. Malkuth, the kingdom, is the 10th sphere on the tree. Vigburah, and the power, refers to the 5th Sephiroth of power, which is on your right shoulder. Vigadullah, which means and the glory, refers to Hesed. So in the power, this is Geburah. Vigdullah, which means and the glory, refers to Hesed. That's going to be the left, correspond to the left shoulder. Since glory or magnificence is another title of Hesed. Yeah, it just says mercy on this one. Mercy. Normally mercy is what Hesed goes by. But it's also known as glory or magnificence. Which is interesting because I always thought Hod could be considered as splendor or also glory as well. So that's slightly confusing a little bit. All right, I see we've got 4 people in the chat now. We've got 3 thumbs up, so make sure we're getting the thumbs ups in here. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Knowledge 2020. The pillars do have to do with the 2 hemispheres of the brain. Melanin, what's up? How are you? Pelroma? What is that? I don't think I'm familiar with that. Yes, the 2 pillars do have to do with the 2 hemispheres of the brain. I mean, you can even Google this yourself. I've had people tell me the opposite, but the left brain hemisphere is going to be the more masculine brain hemisphere. It's more about logic, straightforward type thinking, more calculated. The right brain is going to be the more feminine brain. It's more about creativity, receptivity. It's a little bit more open-minded in some ways. So yeah, art, music, creativity, all of those things, that's going to be the right brain hemisphere. and it's going to correspond with the darker pillar. So when you're doing the Kabbalistic cross and you vibrate, you reach up to Kether and you vibrate you pull the light down from Kether, you vibrate Atah, thou art, that's linked to Kether, whose divine name is I am. Malkut, the kingdom, is the 10th sphere on the tree. We already went over this. The right shoulder and the power, Vigbura, which corresponds to Gebura on the tree of life. Vigdula, which corresponds to mercy on the tree of life. Or Hesed, could also mean glory or magnificence, is another title of Hesed. And then Leolam, Amen, means forever unto the ages. So Atah, Malkut, Vigbura, Vigdala, Leolam, Amen, means forever unto the ages. Okay, so now here's where we get into the positioning of the pillars. Oh, we've got 8 people in here. Awesome. Make sure we get those thumbs ups going on. Smash that thumbs up button. So when you do the Kabbalistic cross, it's very similar to the Christian sign of the cross. But one important difference between the Christian cross and the Kabbalistic cross is that in the Hermetic version, Gebura, or power, is attributed to the right shoulder. Have you ever noticed that? If you go to church, it's the opposite. It's up, down, left, right. But with the Kabbalistic cross, it's up, down, right, left. So the Christian cross, while in the Christian cross, they do Gebura on the left shoulder, symbolically. They don't even, and that's not really known amongst the Christian community. This points out a major difference in the way that a ceremonial magician approaches the divine self from the way that the average churchgoer and the Christian Rosicrucian approaches God. Within the Judeo-Christian tradition, the image of God is seen as separate and outside of humanity. It's external. The image of God as projected on the tree of life is usually viewed as something, quote, out there, or something that is too sacred to be approached by sinful, earthbound human beings. Thus, the tree of life as the image of God is sometimes pictured as the backside of God by the Orthodox religions. In other words, God's face is not turned towards humanity, or as the scriptures tell us, one cannot look upon the face of God and live. It was safer to, quote, image, I don't know if they mean to say imagine, the deity from behind. Therefore, to the Roman Catholic Church, Gebura is on the left shoulder, the same as the image of the tree seen from the back and outside of the human being. Very interesting. So there you have it. So if you have, this is actually a reverse tree of life, and it's confusing because I think for you guys, this is actually set up correctly. If I'm not mistaken, is this on the left side and this is on the right side? That's how it should be if you're actually viewing the face of God. If you're seeing the front side of the tree. Now, if you're seeing the back side of the tree, this pillar would be on the left. The black pillar would be on the left, and the white pillar would be on the right. So they're in their correct positionings when the white pillar is on your left and the black pillar is on the right, and this corresponds with the brain hemispheres. So the logical, more calculated, masculine side of the brain is the left, and then the feminine side of the brain is the right hemisphere. All right, let's see what kind of comments we've got going on. Dr. Zero, what's up, man? How are you? Glad to see you in here. I know I see you pop in from time to time on some other chats too. So always a pleasure to have you in here, my friend. Genevieve, what's up? I like your little fairy there. Is that what that is? Getting some Netzach energy in here. Hermetic Flux, hey, if you are going to debunk the ridiculous claim the pillars are inverted, I will certainly give you a thumbs up. Yeah, I mean, hold on. Yeah, I mean, most books are going to, let me see if they have a picture of it in here, in this actual book of the pillars. I would assume they do. Yeah, but if you're working with the front side of the tree, Yakin should be on the left. It's funny because they've even though they're describing to you that the pillar of mercy should be on the left, they have an inverted tree of life in the book too. So it's actually a backwards tree of life. So, I mean, honestly, you can work with the tree. One can work with the tree however they want to. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't have the black pillar on the left, but to me, it just doesn't make sense and it doesn't resonate. And now I've gone over the reason why. You're looking at the backside of it. It's like you're looking at the backside of God, so to speak. Caden says, can you charge jewelry with angelic energy? And if so, what rituals would you use? Yeah, of course you can do that. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do that. You could do whatever it is you do to clear the space. Like if you want to do an LBRP first before you start to charge it, you can. If not, you could do like an invoking pentagram ritual and invoke like a particular type of whichever angel you want to. So if you need like fiery type energy, like sexual energy, you could like use Archangel. You could invoke Archangel Michael in all directions. And then I don't know if you know the LVX ritual, but the LVX is really powerful for when you bring down the divine light, you can charge your jewelry in that way. Really, you can just use your intention too. You don't have to actually use formal ritual. It takes a little bit more concentration and focus that way. But yeah. So the magnum opus is the unification of the two. Yeah, pretty much. We're physical beings, so we're never going to be like perfectly 50-50. But we should try to be as balanced as possible. Most definitely. I'm going to try to remember to pronounce your YouTube. RNA? RN. I was having so much trouble with it, even yesterday. RNA? RNA? What's up, dude? How are you? A rainier. That's what it is. Because I knew it sounded like a rainy day, and I was trying to think like how can I word this right? That's it. A rainier. I'm glad you're doing grand. That's awesome. Glad you're doing well. Genevieve says 17 minutes and 44 seconds. Where are you in the world? I am in the United States. Is where I am. You're in the woods, northeast Quebec, Canada. That's awesome. That's awesome. I wish I was in the woods. That sounds cool. I have a little like small woods, like a couple acres next to where I live, but it's not like real woods. Hermetic Flux says, in the Western mysteries, we are taught to back into the tree and symbolize tarot, High Empress, etc. That's why the Kabbalistic cross has that position. The symbolism and ritual is what matters most when it comes to Western ceremonial magic. I get that too. I can see that. I'm trying to think. Okay, so if the white's on the left and this is opposite and I'm back into it. Interesting. I see what you're saying. So for you, you do see the black pillar as the left one and the white pillar as the right one. I mean, I see your interpretation of that because I've heard of that before, like being actually positioned like you're in the middle of the pillars, but you're looking outwards. So for me, when I'm working with the tree, I'm like looking at the front of the tree instead of being like in between it, if that makes sense. But even when I'm doing my Kabbalistic cross, I'm still visualizing when I'm working with the different Sephiroth on the different parts of the body, like Malkuth being at the feet, Yesod being at the generative system. And then moving up to Hod, I still see that as being on the right side of my body. So I don't know. I guess it depends on how you want to work with the tree. I don't really know if there's a right or a wrong way at the end of the day. I think it's really just whatever works for the practitioner. Like, I just think it's weird for me to think that like doing a ritual a particular way or something is gonna like fuck you up too much or like damn your soul or I don't know, like, so everything, I guess everything's in the mind, so it's really hard to know. Like, that's why I don't claim to be an expert or anything. Yep, I just try to share my viewpoints and what I've heard from other people and what they're saying. But yeah, it's funny that they're saying that about the tree in this book, and then they're showing like an quote unquote inverted tree in this book. So that's really kind of strange. Let's read on. Let's read on about these pillars, though. I'm going to continue. One Kabbalistic diagram often used to illustrate the idea of the divine on the tree of life is that of Adam Kadmon, the so-called Atziluthic or archetypal man. If you're not familiar with the four Kabbalistic worlds, the four worlds of Kabbalah, the world of Atziluth is at the top. Adam Kadmon is the heavenly man or body of God. He is the divine prototype of humanity, which is circumscribed upon the tree of life. The crown of Kether is above his head, Malkuth is at his feet, Gebura is at his left shoulder, and Hesed is at his right shoulder. So there you go. So when we're talking about Adam Kadmon, now Gebura is at his left shoulder, and Hesed is at the right shoulder. So that's what you were saying. In his book, Kabbalah, Tradition of Hidden Knowledge, Zev Ben Shimon Halevi, I probably just butchered that name, tells us about the diagram of Adam Kadmon. This reflection, however, like that in any mirror, is only a reflection and never the reality. Halevi says, and there's a footnote for that. Let me read that really quick. Oh, that's just, okay. The likeness of a man, Ezekiel 1:26, was used by early mystics to describe the divine glory. The figure of a primordial Atziluthic man, God's image is the I thought maybe somebody was coming in. The likeness of a man, Ezekiel 1:26, was used by early mystics to describe the divine glory. The figure of a primordial Atziluthic man, God's image is the embodiment of the Sephiroth. This, the most perfect image of divinity, is seen not as God, but as his reflection, and therefore a representation of his does not contravene the second commandment. What is the second commandment? Is that thou shalt not have any gods before me? Thou shalt not have any other gods before me. Adam Kadmon is sometimes called the, quote, reversed tree. So the reverse tree, so this is, remember, a pillar of severity is on the left now, and the pillar of mildness is on the right. Or I'm sorry, the pillar of mercy is on the right. Adam Kadmon is sometimes called the reverse tree. This is because several glyphs of the tree of life are shown with their, quote, roots in the supernals. Adam Kadmon is reversed from this, with this head in Kether and his feet in Malkuth. We also believe that he is the, quote, reverse tree because his image is reversed, not only from top to bottom, but from side to side. If you hold the usual image of Adam Kadmon, see figure 10, page 182, it's on the next page. If you hold it up to a mirror, you will see what we believe is the true non-reversed appearance of the deity that is forbidden by the orthodoxy to look upon. Very interesting. I've not read all of this yet. Gebura is on the right side, Hesed is on the left. Therefore, the traditional diagram of Adam Kadmon is a Zalem, or reflected image of a spiritual reality, not that reality itself. So what do you think about that, Hermetic Flux? That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Geneve says, that's cool. What does that mean? I'm not sure which part of the video you were talking about there. The true magnum opus is the walk. Yep, gotta have the walk, man. I would like to visit the old world buildings in Quebec. Heck yeah. Just lit 3 dragon's blood incenses. Awesome. I was just shopping for some candles today, but the only colored ones I could find are those big long ones, and they like melt a whole bunch, and I don't have anything to put them on. So I think what I really need to get is just maybe those tiny colored candles that are like really short. That way they don't like make a huge mess all over the place. I only have one candle right now in a big tall candlestick, but it's just a white candle with an angel on it. With an angel on the outside. So the only problem with that is that I can only use that candle for certain things, and for certain other energy works or working with certain spirits, it's not going to be the right correspondence. I was actually doing some pretty intense meditations this morning. I'll have to talk about some of my experiences that I had and some of my insights that I had in a video another time, maybe let the messages sink in, but for a while. But the main message was that I'm not even going to say what spirit it was that I was working with, but the main message and a vision went with it too, is that we create our own hells. So a lot of people have the ability to rise, they have the ability to be more, they have the ability to know better, and sometimes they know better, but it was like I just envisioned people like stuck in the ground. Like it's like they couldn't rise up. They were so engrossed in the material matter that they couldn't conceive of anything higher. And it was very symbolic of people just being stuck, whether it be stuck in life, whether it be stuck in mindsets. And I'm in a place in life where I'm having to decide to step aside or step away from a lot of situations and different people and things. And because I know that there are greater heights to rise to, and there's people that want to stay in mediocrity, and that's fine. I mean, they can decide to do that if they want to, but it's just not for me. I have a little bit more of a purpose, you know. Quebec City can be surreal if you are one to remember past lives. That sounds really cool. The essence of Quebec manifests abilities and it amplifies them. Very cool. For Golden Dawn and Thelema, if you flip it, you don't match tarot symbolism. Yeah, I've have you actually worked on path working, Hermetic Flux? Because I've worked with the Sephiroth a lot, but the one thing I have not done is like path working, and I haven't memorized my tarot correspondences. So yeah, that would change up the tarot quite a bit. Because here's a tree of life with all the different lines and showing the. So if you were to make this what they say is the proper way, then it would just put it on the opposite side, right? So this would be Malkuth, and instead of going up and to the right, and if you go up and to the right, and it looks like it's the left on the screen though. It says the moon on this, but it would become judgment, right? So this judgment would be flipped over to the other side. Would that would probably just completely mess up. It would still be connecting to the same Sephiroth, though, even if you did reverse it, right? I don't know. That's definitely something to think about, though. You're right. I love it. It's very rural here, Genevieve. I'm probably butchering your YouTube's channel's name. Genevieve. Genevieve. I'm just gonna say that. I love very rural here, but the indigenous energy also has Viking vibes. Nice. Hermetic Flux says it's true. It certainly will not mess you up. Tarot and Western ritual are meant to work together. RNA, a rainy day, a rainy. I'm gonna get it one day, man. I like to imagine the tree as centered. The white light condensed center with a black vortex followed by the colors as outer spheres of influence. Very interesting. I would like to see a drawing of that. Let me know if you like make a video on that or if you have made a video on that. I would like to see a visual representation. That would be sweet. Hermetic Flux says in Hebrew Kabbalah, you star and mirror. In Hermetic Kabbalah, you back in. That's the distinction. Tarot and the science of ritual is the reason. Interesting. So there is the Hebrew way and the Hermetic way. That is what is well known. So is that, so in the Hebrew Kabbalah, you're saying it's on the left, the white pillar's on the left, and then in the Hermetic Kabbalah, if you're backed into it, Boaz or Severity would be on your right? Or on your left, I'm sorry. Rainier says, those taper candles are a pain. Behind me is a large black candle lit to Belial. Very nice. Yeah, that's an energy I've not chosen to work with before. I've definitely like contemplated that spirit before. I've definitely thought about how much power probably comes from that entity because I know it's one of the harsher energies to utilize. Hermetic Flux says, to summarize, you're correct. It's not going to doom you and get you shelves either way. There's the Hebrew and Hermetic. If you are practicing magic, it's more effective to use Hermetic way. Interesting. Do you have a YouTube channel, Hermetic? You should make a channel, man. You should start making some content. Melanin says, I hope everyone a 6 of Pentacles. Well, thank you. I'm gonna have to look up what the 6 of Pentacles is because I totally forget. I've always known my major arcana pretty well, but the minor arcana I'm not as like well versed with. Some of them I do know pretty well because I would get them in readings I used to do for myself. But the 6 of Coins, the 6 of Pentacles, here, let's go to this website, labyrinthus.com. If it's upright, here's the meaning. You are in a position where you have a good relationship with your income. like the main figure in the card, the amount of money that you bring in and your expenses are balanced well, and you are fortunate enough to not have any stress. You are also grateful that for all that you own, and you can happily share your wealth with others. As you can tell from the imagery in the card, the Six of Pentacles can be about charity. You can either be the man giving away money to the needy, or a beggar gratefully receiving what you need from a wealthy donor. So yeah, it's a card of abundance from what I'm seeing. And I think that's really what I wish for myself and for my loved ones, that we can be in such a state of that spiritual abundance and really material abundance, you know, of having like all the needs of life just taken care of and, you know, provided for by source. And then we can spread that wealth, spread that love, spread that joy to others, because that's where the real joy comes in. You know, that's the real secret to life, is when you can really change someone's day. You can change someone's life by, you know, performing a kind deed. That's really, you know, that's really doing the great work, and that's the Philosopher's Stone, you know, turning lead into gold. So thank you, Melanin. Hermetic Flux says, yes, I'm fully engaged with the great work. It's just ridiculous when people say it's purposefully inverted to shell people. Yeah. It's like, there's a lot of dark ways you can perceive a lot of this stuff. And, you know, it's, if you let it, it can almost make you go insane, you know, kind of. It's like, you end up questioning a lot of the magical stuff. Sometimes you're like, man, did I just get myself in over my head? You know, sometimes things like that, self-doubts, all that. We've got, we have 9 people in the chat. Make sure we are getting thumbs up going on in here. That'll help with the algorithm and all that. Aranier says, that's an awesome idea. Can certainly do it. And he also says Belial is great for that. I had been in too much a meditative state, so this energy can push me physically. An epic counterbalance. I feel that. I feel that. I feel like the times when I use like that more physical energy is like really when I'm working out and stuff. When I was doing a lot of exercises about like 3 months ago. I posted like some workout pictures and stuff here in the community section, because I was actually getting pretty back into shape and stuff. So yeah, like working out. A lot of the times when I would play music, especially when I played drums, like drums is a very physical thing, like especially with metal and things like that. I'm sure there's metal artists and stuff out there that like draw upon different spirits like that to like, you know, supercharge them, get them electrified, get them going. Hermetic says, you are correct. When you mirror the tree, it's opposite. Hebrew Kabbalah versus Hermetic Kabbalah, it's simple. One uses the science of ritual and the other does not. Let's read a little bit more about this whole pillar thing. And here's a picture of Adam Kadmon. So you guys are actually seeing probably a reflected version of it on the phone. Because to you guys, his head's pointed towards the left, right? In the book, his head's pointed towards the right when I'm looking at it, because it's not. The phone usually mirrors the images. Ceremonial magicians are not bound by the admonishments of orthodoxy, which state that one cannot view God from the front or look upon his non-reversed image. Theurgists, looks like there's a footnote for that. Sometimes the footnotes are just the references, and then other times they have an actual description. Ceremonial magicians, literally God workers, is the footnote or the end note for that. Theurgists view the usual diagram of the tree of life as the face or front side of the divine. This image of the tree is then reflected back into us as if through a mirror. Thus, Gebura on the deity's right shoulder is reflected to our right shoulder. This is because the magician seeks to bring the image of God inside the aura. This is a greatly simplified version of a magical operation known as the assumption of God forms, and it points out the difference between the exoteric beliefs or mainstream religion and the esoteric practices of ceremonial magicians. Now it's saying to see figure 11 on page 184. So here, it's actually showing him backing into the tree. But from the way I'm looking at it in the book, if he backs into this tree, Hokmah is still going to be on his left. Baina and the Pillar of Severity is going to be on his right. Weird. I know it probably looks mirrored here, but it's literally the way his head is backing into this. Hokmah will be on his left side, and Baina will be on his right. So even this book is saying that even with the magician backing into the tree, it's still the white pillars on the left and the black pillars on the right. So this is confusing as shit, Hermetic. I you know, I don't know. I'm just gonna keep on reading, but commenting on the Kabbalistic cross in his book Transcendental Magic, I think that's the book that is that the book that has the Tree of Life drawing with the Pillar of Mercy on the left. Commenting on the Kabbalistic cross in his book Transcendental Magic, Eliphas Levi, or Eliphas Levi, I don't know what the correct pronunciation is, the man most responsible for the occult revival of the 19th century, wrote that this sign, made after this manner, should precede and terminate the conjuration of the four. Oh, so he's commenting on the Kabbalistic cross. So this sign, I'm assuming he means the Kabbalistic cross. The shoulder thing should precede and terminate the conjuration of the four. The conjuration of the four refers to the four elements of fire, water, air, and earth. The four archangels in the LBRP are among the best known and most powerful of the Hebrew deities, and they are the governors of the four elements. The invocation of the archangels in the LBRP is very similar to an invocation in a Hebrew night prayer, printed in an Orthodox Siddur, or daily prayer book, translated by Philip Birnbaum. Interesting. The Siddur reads as follows: In the name of the Lord God of Israel, may Michael be at my right hand, and Gabriel at my left. Before me, Uriel, behind me, Raphael, and above my head, the divine presence. Interesting. So here he has Michael at the right hand, Gabriel at the left, Uriel in front, and then Raphael behind. That's a really weird configuration, because typically Uriel's in the north, and the north is the place of darkness. This clearly relates very closely to the calling of the archangels in the LBRP. Although they are in a different order, they are still the same archangels carrying out the same duties. These orthodox correspondences may reflect an These orthodox correspondences may reflect an approach that is different from that taken by the Golden Dawn. There are undoubtedly similar versions of the invocation of the archangel still tucked away in the Hebrew texts. Like, yeah, for me, I now have Raphael. If I'm doing an invocation, I'll have Raphael before me in the west. If I'm doing a banishing, I'll have Raphael behind me in the west. So I've changed it up a little bit, experimented with some different things. Lesbo Sapien. Hey there, love your videos. We get wrapped up in the rules and quote science and magic when the divine paradox is everything. The image is mirrored depending on perspective, the universe or your own body. Very true. Very true. Hesed will be on the left, Gabur on the right, just like tarot. Yeah, that's what we were saying from the beginning, right? Mercy, the pillar of mercy being on the left, pillar of severity being on the right. But most trees of life that you look at, it's showing the pillar of severity on the left and the pillar of mercy on the right. Left and right do and don't exist. Hokmah and Bina are both left and right, depending on how you use it. Hermetic is right when considering the quote rules of the different magical practices. Yep. Yep, and then melanin's got it right there. Yep. Yep. A white sphere and a black sphere. Excuse me just a minute, everyone. I will be right back. Just give me about 30 seconds. If you're just tuning into the live stream, make sure you're getting the thumbs up. Smash that thumbs up button. All right, everyone, we still have 7 people in here. If you all are cool to hang around for a minute, I am gonna grab a bowl of chili, and then I will be right back. Hi, Darius. What's up? How are you, my friend? Welcome back in. It's good to have you here yesterday. Protein. Yep. For sure. It's so hot, though. I'm going to have to let it cool down. Sorry to eat in front of all you guys. Knew that dinner was going to be ready pretty soon, but I knew I wanted to get a live in as well, real quick. I didn't think I was going to go very long this time. I figured about an hour, but if you guys are interested and want to stay tuned, we'll keep on going. Let that cool down a little bit. What the pentagram represents. So let's just keep reading the same section because it's pretty much continued to stay somewhat interesting. Even though a lot of this information is like review and stuff from this book, I still find that even just finding small sections to read, there's always new insights, you know, that I get even when I like reread stuff. So that's the thing, there's always more to learn, even if we dig back into old books that we've already read before, or if it seems like it's review, just learn more about it. And in learning more about it, you become like you're able to be a better teacher as well. That way you can convey what it is to people a little bit better. You have a little bit more thorough of a knowledge base. No one knows the exact magical origins of the pentagram or pentalpha, as it is sometimes called in older texts. For centuries, the five-pointed star has been used as a symbol of protection and a talisman for health and well-being. It was popular among the Babylonians, Egyptians, Assyrians, and Hebrews. According to Eliphas Levi, magicians of old used to draw the symbol upon their doorsteps to keep malevolent spirits out and beneficent spirits in. That's pretty interesting. And as early as the 6th century BCE, Pythagoras, the Greek philosopher mystic, used the pentagram as a holy symbol for his followers. And if any of you have ever seen that, you ever seen the Donald Duck, it's like animation? I don't know, why did you have to do that, Bella? My cat, like she had to jump on the desk, like where everything's at. Like, that's why I can't have stones or anything out. Because the fucking cats, they just jump on everything in the dumbest spots. I'm like, there's no room for you there. Why are you jumping there? Silly cats. Yeah, the Donald Duck animation, though, this sacred geometry, it's an old Disney animated thing, but they have the pentagram like on their hands and stuff. It's pretty cool. Check it out if you've not seen it before. Donald Duck, sacred geometry, it should come right up. Five was a number peculiarly, gosh, that's a hard word to say. 5 was a number peculiarly associated with the ideas of marriage and union, as it is the first number beyond the monad, formed from the union of the first odd and even numbers, male and female. It is also said to represent the human figure with arms and legs outspread. That one's pretty obvious. Every man and woman is a star. The shape of the five-pointed star seems to be one of nature's favorite geometric designs. It can be found in flowers, fruit, and crystalline forms. In magic, the pentagram represents the 4 elements of fire, water, air, and earth plus 1 other. In addition, the number 5 is attributed to the Pentagrammaton, or 5-lettered name. This is a natural extension of the Tetragrammaton, the holy and hidden 4-lettered name of God, signified by the letters YHVH. In the Pentagrammaton, Pentagrammaton, the letter Shin is placed in the center of that. So it's instead of Yod He Vav He, it's Yod He Shin Vav He. This is the name of Jesus in Hebrew. But more importantly to magicians, it is the 4 elements of fire, water, air, and earth with the addition of the 5th element of spirit. So why is that name not vibrated? And I think instead of Yod He Vav He, shouldn't it be Yod He Shin Vav He? It's a more complete version of it. I would think that would be more effective. I think Damien Eccles, I think he vibrates Yeshua at that pentagram, which would traditionally be in the east. If you use the traditional Golden Dawn elemental directions. The element of spirit binds together and governs the other 4, which are the metaphysical building blocks of all that exists. The 5th element of spirit, also called the quintessence, crowns and connects the other 4. It is spirit which transcends the others and makes the whole of the pentagram greater than the sum of its parts. Spirit is the divine and guiding principle. This is one reason magicians stress that it is important to keep the spirit of the pentagram facing upward. To reverse it would be to subject spirit to the governance of matter. Thus, the inverted pentagram signifies chaos and evil. It does not signify evil. It's not evil. It's just more material in its nature. It's way more material in its nature. But just because something is exalting the denser or more material part of reality, doesn't necessarily mean it's evil. It may not be as balanced per se. It's more about how that energy is used, how it's utilized, right? And the upside down pentagram is also, it's more feminine. So if it's upright like this, that's actually a more masculine. Even though the pentagram is a feminine symbol, just in its normal, just by the nature of what it is, it's the Venus, the symbol of Venus too, or symbol for Venus. It's also a feminine symbol, but the upright pentagram is more electric and masculine in nature, whereas the upside down pentagram is going to be much more magnetic in nature. It's much more pulls in energy. It's almost like a black hole. So, yep, it absorbs, pulls in, where this is more projective, electrifying. First Matter Creative said, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, of course. You're welcome. Like, there have been lots of times in my life where, especially I'd say in the past couple of years, where people will claim to be more like spiritual, and they were kind of rejecting some of the physical aspects of self. In some ways, but for me, it was more spiritual to actually use the upside down pentagram energy at that time. It felt more in alignment with my authentic self. I wanted to embrace physical nature more at that time, because the spiritual nature of things was being It wasn't genuine. It was like, think of like false positivity. We've all seen like examples of false positive or false light, where it's pretending to be righteous, but really it's just engrossed in demonic energies just as much. And I'm not saying that demonic energies are evil. I'm just saying those people are influenced by those energies more than what they think they are. They think they're being all love and light, but at the end of the day, they're just very misguided. I guess I should have put even more cheese and crackers in these. It's good chili, but I just feel like I'm not tasting the oyster crackers that much. All right, let's keep reading. I know there's other sections of this book that are interesting too, but this is pretty interesting. Levi states that the pentagram signifies the domination of the mind over the elements, and the demons of air, the spirits of fire, the phantoms of water, and the ghosts of earth are enchained by this sign. Interesting. Elements and demons of air, because they do say that Satan is the prince of air, don't they? Elements of air and demons of air, spirits of fire, phantoms of water, and ghosts of earth are enchained by this sign, so Elvis Levi says. Eliphas Levi reiterates that the elementary spirits are subservient to the sign when employed with understanding. He continues, I wish they would just put the notes at the bottom of the page instead of putting them at the end of the chapter. I like when they're at the bottom of the page, because most of them I don't need, but I still like to look and see if there's an interesting footnote. He then continues, if it be asked how a sign can exercise so much power over spirits, we inquire in turn why the Christian world bows before the sign of the cross. See, to me, the cross is like, it's just the axis point. It's spirit and physicality, and you are the dot in the middle of the circle, you're at the middle of the cross. You are the intersecting lines. Like, if you've ever played like a video game where your character, like the spot, like if you've played Skyrim, when you go to pick up items, there's that little axis on the screen. Like that's the cross. Like, and it's where you're at in the universe. It's the above influences and it's the material realm. So it's both. Up, down, left, right. It's that video game pad. Bella. The sign of the cross. So the sign is nothing by itself and has no force apart from the doctrine of which it is the summary and the logos. Now a sign which summarizes in their expression all the occult forces of nature, a sign which has ever exhibited to elementary spirits and others a power greater than their own, fills them naturally with respect and fear, enforcing their obedience by the empire of science and of will over ignorance and weakness. By the pentagram is also measured the exact proportions of the great and unique athanor, necessary to the confection of philosophical stone and of the great work. The most perfect alembic, in which the quintessence can be elaborated, is conformable to this figure, and the quintessence itself is represented by the sign of the pentagram. So yeah, the pentagram has a lot to do with like the philosopher's stone. Yeah, let me read that again. By the pentagram is also measured the exact proportions of the great and unique athanor, necessary to the confection of philosophical stone and of the great work. What is an athanor? What does that mean? Oh, okay. It's an alchemical furnace. Because, yeah, I knew they were talking about alchemy. And a limbic is like an alchemical thing, too. Because I remember seeing that in Morrowind. When it comes to alchemy. It consists of, yeah. You've probably seen it. You've probably seen a lot of different, like, illustrations of that. And yeah, it's in like Skyrim and Morrowind if you play like the Elder Scrolls, if any of you play the Elder Scrolls series. We have 5 people in the chat still. Thank you 5 for staying tuned, for staying in here. First Matter Creative says, I feel like the aversion to the feminine material is a holdover from the Aeon of Osiris. Yeah, that's true, because we're just exiting the Aeon of Osiris, aren't we? We're now entering into the age of the child, the age of Horus. We're already there, I think. The body physical is a mirror of the spiritual and eventually breaks down to have no difference. I like that. I like that. I like that viewpoint on it. Balance. Exactly. Tara says, hi. What's up, Tara? How are you? Glad to have you on here again. This is the second Occult Perspectives live stream in a row. And you made it to both. A few of you have made it to both. Rainier, Melanin. Who else was here yesterday? Genevieve? Lesbo Sapien says, why did I believe that Jesus was meant to be representative of us entering the age of Horus? Not sure where I'd heard that or inferred it. I think you're right. Look at it this way, because I've actually thought the exact same thing. Think about the Old Testament. Think about the Old Testament God and how it's like the Old Testament God is basically Kronos or time or Saturn or the demiurge or however you want to look at it. What's the other word for the demiurge? Gosh, why can I not? Yadaboeth? That's one of the names, I think. Look at the harsh, strict nature of the Old Testament God versus the Jesus, the New Testament. Love. Unconditional love. Forgiving people of their sins and their differences. I think the Old Testament was more this past 2,000 years, the age of patriarchy, the age of Osiris, is more like reflective or archetypally represented by the Old Testament. The New Testament is, yeah, it's more that age of Horus, the child type energy. It's more like love everyone, unconditional love. It's almost, and you're starting to see that. You're starting to see people wake up to that more unconditional love type thing, and this both sexes getting more equality and stuff. Like that's very much a symptom of the age of Horus. And then after that 2,000 years, we're going to be what? In an age of matriarchy? So it's going to be more female based again. This goes in cycles, right? Would it be an age of patriarchy, the age of the child, which is where it's pretty much balanced between the genders, and then it's going to be like an age of Isis after that. Is that how that works? I don't know. There's a book I have in the last chapter. It talks about all the different time periods after like the year 2000 and what those eras will archetypally represent, like what each era will be about. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Tara says, good, just got home. How's you? Glad you made it home. You said you went and hung out with a friend, didn't you? I'm good. I'm doing okay. I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be doing this live stream. What offerings do you give, Michael? You know, I don't really do the whole offerings thing. I probably should. What kind of offerings do you recommend for angels? Other than sincerity of spirit, that's about the only thing I've ever offered. Yell to both. Yep. Age of Isis. I swear I've heard this somewhere, that people are becoming more familiar with femininity and how that corresponds to the Holy Spirit or Mother, that we're on our way, same as Aquarius. Yeah, so in the Age of Horus, that's the age of the child, so the sexes are going to be balanced. That's kind of what's happening now. So the femininity is being more accepted, the divine feminine is being more accepted. But I think what's supposed to happen in the Age of Isis is things will be unbalanced in the feminine direction. So females will actually have the upper hand. Like the past 2,000 years, it's been men who have been like very harsh and have run things, and it's either their way or no way. You know, I think it might go the opposite way for an age of matriarchy. I'm sorry. So that would be, we would be reaching that, what, around the age of, or around the year of, and I don't think that's necessarily true. Because I think consciousness will be at a much higher state by then. So even if the energy is more female dominated, more feminine dominated, all that means is the overruling energy for that time period would be feminine energy, right? Doesn't mean it has to be in a negative or like controlling type way. It just means it is going to be more female based type energy. Let me see if I can actually find if none of you have ever gotten or read this book, I highly recommend this one. The Illustrated Secret History of the World by Mark Booth. Great book. Great book. But he talks about the different ages of the world at the end, if I can find it. All right. I'm gonna switch the music up a little bit. This is music from the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. I love this soundtrack. It's some of my all-time favorite music ever. Just so nostalgic for me. that game and that period of time in my life. I was discovering Xbox for the very first time. My brother-in-law had an Xbox, and I'd never played Halo. I'd never played a game with a world as open and large as Elder Scrolls before. So that was really neat. Oh. This is kind of a neat little illustration. There's a lot of cool illustrations in this book. Rose Croix collar jewel, modeled on an image in the, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, it's translated as Secret Symbols of Rosicrucians of 1785, made in 1888 by William Wynne Westcott for the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Westcott's motto was "Dare to be wise." Talking about pentagrams and stuff, look at that. With those two sets of double-headed eagles. The lighter one is on the left, darker one's on the right. But if he's wearing the jewel, that's a big collar jewel, then it would be reversed, right? So this would be on the right now, and this would be on the left, from his point of view. So for me, if I'm wearing it, the darker part's going to be on the left, the whiter part's going to be on the right. So yeah, I'm trying to find some of this information on these different eras. This is an interesting section I found here. I don't think I'm going to read that though, but that was... Okay. So here we go. In AD... In AD 3574, we will enter the age that in Revelation is called Philadelphia. It's interesting. If the great evolutionary impulses of previous eras have come from India, Persia, Egypt, Greece, Rome, and Northern Europe, the next impulse will come from Europe, Eastern Europe, and Russia. Freemasonic influenced governments in America and Britain have been keen to involve themselves in this area of the world for this reason. It's very interesting. Already, it is possible to see extremes emanating from this region, both extremes of spirituality and extremes of evil, such as the Russian mafia. In the future, individuals we remember from history, the great personalities who helped lead humanity out of the spirit worlds, will be reborn in order to lead us back into the spirit worlds. There will be a new Shakespeare, a new Moses, a new Zarathustra, or however you pronounce that, a new Hercules. Towards the end of the Philadelphian era, Jesus ben Pandira The teacher of the Essenes will incarnate again as the fifth rider who rides a horse called Faithful and True, referred to in Revelation. In Oriental tradition, this figure is called the Maitreya Buddha. He will bring great spiritual gifts, opening what Saint Teresa of Avila called the eyes of the soul, the chakras. We will then re-enter the sacred wood described in chapter 2. We will be aware of the spirits, then angels and gods, alive in everything around us, but we will not be controlled by them anymore. We will become aware again of the spiritual beings ranged on either side of us when we make a decision. As good and evil spirits make themselves felt, as everyone communicates more freely with the spirit worlds, organized religion will no longer be needed. Imagine no religion. We will regain some of the ability to control animals and plants by the power of our thoughts that Adam enjoyed. We will begin to remember past lives and to foresee the future. Our waking consciousness will develop so that it bears the same relationship to our present day waking consciousness as today's waking consciousness bears to our dreaming consciousness. Interesting. We will realize that although we have believed ourselves to be awake, we have actually been asleep. These developments will be hard won. At the end of the Philadelphian era, there will be a catastrophic world war. At the end of it, the surface of the earth will become a spiritual wasteland, except for the Americas, where the flame of spirituality will be kept alive. This will be the mirror image of the period of the first Zarathustra. Now it's talking about the period, the year 5734 to 7894. So this is ranging way in the future. This is a large range. This era is called Laodicea in Revelation. As matter becomes less dense, so our bodies will respond more and more to spiritual impulses. The goodness in good people will shine out of them, while the faces and bodies of evil people will be molded by the animal passions that dominate them. Good people will find it increasingly hard to be happy if they are surrounded by people who are miserable. Eventually, no one will be happy until everyone is happy. If the material world is brief, so too is death. In time, we will no longer die, but sleep very deeply and then less and less deeply. Death, as St. Paul says, will be swallowed up. As we enter another age of metamorphosis, biological generation will eventually become unnecessary. We will discover the word that has been lost of the Freemasons, which is to say we will be able to create by power of the voice, the shout that's referred to in Skyrim. Like we'll actually be able to create realities from the voice, from the logos, the word. We'll be able to literally be like God and speak existence into, or speak things into existence. First Matter Creative says, I think that Jesus, Yeshua, Lucifer, and Horus are all the sun. So at least in my mind, connect Horus to Jesus. I don't know. I could be way off. This is just my perspective. They're all like, they all have, they're not exactly the same thing, but I've always seen kind of Jesus and Lucifer as different sides of the same coin. They are kind of the same. They go hand in hand a lot of the time. But Jesus, according to the law of one, was like a fourth or a fifth dimensional, I think it was a fifth dimensional or a fifth density being that came back in time to help us, made a sacrifice. It knew that it was doing that to help humans evolve, to help us all in our dharma. So it's a fifth dimensional, and he actually doesn't have a real name. You don't have names and stuff when you're in that high of a density. So it was a being that came back to help. Lucifer is like a primordial social memory complex. It's an old like guardian spirit. Like it's one of the older spirits or entities or like gatekeepers in this universe, I think. It's an old energy. So they're not really exactly the same thing. I think Lucifer is archetypally, and really it's an older primordial energy that represents the light, but they're both light bearers. Anyone can be a light bearer if they choose to walk that path. Horus is the son of Osiris and Isis in the Egyptian myth. I've heard that Lucifer is Ra. But yeah, Horus is the son, Ra is the son, Jesus is the son of God. Lucifer corresponds to Venus, but they're not really synonymous. Exactly. All these things are nuanced, and it just depends on how you see them. Melanin 98 says fruit and mature beverages. For Michael, awesome. I will keep that in mind. I've not tried that before, but I definitely should start doing things of that nature. Start offering offerings. Tara says, Spencer saw your live and said hi. Hi, Spencer. What's up, man? How are ya? Sapien says, brotherly love. Indeed. Indeed. Got a white heart there from Genevieve. Syllables. Ipsissimus says, I just noticed this live. I will rewatch it. Sweet. Awesome. Lucifer is a very interesting entity. Yeah, you got that right. It's a very wise old energy. It's definitely like a guardian spirit of the mysteries, I would say. And it is angelic and demonic. It's both. It's both. I agree, Ipsissimus. I'm not a left-hand path either. I try not to ever get hung up on those terms like right-hand path or left-hand path, but everyone's going to kind of polarize one direction or the other, right? You're going to kind of move in one direction or the other. It doesn't mean you necessarily completely belong to one side. It's all one at the end of the day, right? Going back to the pentagram reading, here Levi gives us clues about the numerical dimensions of the pentagram, for by it is measured the exact proportions of the athanor, the alchemical oven, which is used to obtain the philosopher's stone, a symbol for spiritual illumination and expanded consciousness. What is so important about the proportions of the pentagram? ? Through the number 5, the number of points on this figure, the pentagram is connected to the sphere of Geburah on the Tree of Life and to its corresponding planet Mars. Interesting, because it says there's also a theory talked about primarily in like Kabbalah, Qliphoth, and Goetic magic about how Geburah is where how the tree of the Qliphoth basically came into being. On the original Tree of Life, there was an imbalance in this sphere, and there was an implosion, which led to the shards or the shattering of the original tree, and then the new Tree of Life is built upon the remains of that old tree. I don't know if any of you have read that book. It's probably the most esoteric book I've ever read. There's one other book that's like really, really deep too. Citra Akra. I've talked about that book, that grimoire a couple times on my channel. I think there's 2 videos entitled like The Darker Nature of the Dark Tree or something like that. I talk about that book in there. Carlson. Yeah, I think that's how you spell it. Yep. Kabbalah, spelled with a Q. Kabbalah, Qliphoth, and Goetic Magic. There should be a free PDF online somewhere. I want to buy a copy of the book, but it's really hard to find any copies that are cheaper than $150, and I'm not gonna pay 150 or $200 for that book. So yeah, it's an awesome book. It really is. Yeah, it definitely made me see why there is value. Yeah, so much value in that information. Of course, Ipsissimus. That's I totally agree with you on that. So the pentagram represents that fiery, purifying power of the divine that takes the name of Pakad, or fear, one of the titles of Gebura, whose other primary title is strength. And did you know that it's also, okay, it's going to get into it here. Another higher function of Gebura is that of din, meaning justice. So kind of the higher, quote, higher purpose of Gebura is this din. And if you remember the 3 golden goddesses in the Legend of Zelda, Din is one of those goddesses. Din meaning justice, judgment, or severity. The divine name of Gebura is Elohim Gibor, or God of battles. Interesting. According to Iamblichus, a Neoplatonic philosopher magician of the 4th century, the pentad is highly expressive of justice, and justice comprehends all the other virtues. And it's one of the 4 cardinal virtues. In Freemasonry, you have temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. Those are your 4 cardinal virtues. There's another name for them. Pagan virtues. I think I've heard them be referred to as the pagan virtues. And then you have the theologian virtues, or the Christian virtues, which are faith, hope, and charity. So you add those together and you have 7. I've done a video on the four cardinal virtues before too. So we know that the archangel that's connected to Gebura is Kamael. And then the order of angels is, yeah, it also means justice or fear. Oh, it doesn't tell me the order of angels on this chart. Dang it. I'd have to look it up in my other book. I think, isn't it the Seraphim? Isn't that the order of angels for the Gebura, if I'm remembering correctly? So the divine name of Gebura is Elohim Gibor, or God of battles. According to Iamblichus, we already read that. In his book, Numbers, Their Occult Power and Mystic Virtues, W. Wynne Westcott states that the pentad is called, quote, the unconquered. Westcott also states, Proclus on Hesiod gives 2 reasons for its semblance to justice, because it punishes wrong and takes away any quality of possession, and also equalizes what is less to benefit. Interesting. Thus, the number 5 provides us with the ideas of fear, strength, severity, power, and justice. It's that first number, 5 is that first number after 4, and 4 is foundation, right? It's the square, it's the building blocks, the cornerstone. Also, if any of you, I see we have 10 people in the live chat. Make sure we're getting the thumbs ups going on in here. If you have not checked out my Patreon, make sure to go and check out my Patreon, guys. There's $5 membership, which gets you about half of the audiobook for my book that I've written. And then $10 will give you access to all of the audiobook. And then the PDF of part 1 of my book, which is it's like 110 pages. It's a decent amount of writing. It is for sale for $75, but because Patreon charges an additional 30%, it's like $105 now, which is ridiculous. I'm really upset about that, and I'm gonna have to try to I would like to find a different format or a different place to start selling my stuff other than Patreon. But until then, yeah, I'm just gonna have to deal with it, I guess. So. Yeah, if you go to the, yes, thank you. Genevieve says, I have faith, hope, charity tattooed on my arm. That's awesome. Yeah. So, they say that charity is actually the greatest of those 3, though, right? Charity is another word for charity is actually love. Love is really, it could be replaced with love too. Sometimes you'll see faith, hope, and love. When we think of charity, we think just giving people money, but charity is much more than that. It's giving an essence of ourselves. It's giving time. It's being patient. It's being there with somebody. Love is eternal, and it goes on through space and time forever, right? Now, hope can be lost. You can lose hope. Once something has come to fruition, or it's been already accomplished, what hope is there after that? Or maybe something won't come to pass. Maybe it won't be accomplished. So hope can be lost, right? Faith could even be lost. Faith could be just because you're not able to perceive, maybe, or you're not able to feel that you have that strong faith. But love will exist forever. Love exists forever. So faith and hope are temporary, but love is forever. Chamuel, I think, and I've covered this in my Kamael videos, I think Archangel Chamuel and Kamael are the same archangel, and I actually talk about that in my book that's on my Patreon. Have you guys experienced insomnia from your ritual work? I'm struggling to get good sleep. I mean, yeah, that can definitely be a side effect of ritual work. Usually, really powerful, ritual work will make me tired sometimes. And then I sleep really well. So I have kind of the opposite problem. Usually it's never hard for me to sleep. I'm one of those people that I used to go to music festivals, and people would be like, where's Tyler? And I'm just I'm sleeping because I'm just tired. I don't know. I like to be the one on stage. I used to be the one, to be the one performing. If I'm not performing, I don't like being a spectator all the time. I just got bored. So people wouldn't be having any deep or esoteric talks. I did a whole video on that I haven't posted yet about why I left that kind of community of people. I don't know if I'll end up posting that or not. Yes, make sure we're hitting that like button. Thank you very much, Melanin. Ipsissimus says, yee, thumbs up, peeps. It's the most easy thing you can do, and it costs nothing. That's awesome. Yes, thank you. You have a book? I do. It's on my Patreon. You can do the audiobook version, which is way cheaper, but you can also buy a PDF of it as well. If you go into most of my video descriptions, you'll find a link to my Patreon. I also put the web link in my YouTube channel's description, but you can't actually click on the link. But I think in the descriptions of the videos, you should be able to click on the link in there. Also, if you go to my community section, you should also see links to the Patreon in the community section. So make sure you go to the shop if you want the PDF, if you want to just sign up monthly and get the audiobooks for $5 or $10. It should be pretty easy to find that on the main page. Genevieve says, infinity symbol, agape love. Yeah, agape love is the love for all, right? Like the unconditional love. So I've been told I get a bit selfish with my love sometimes, like especially when I'm like, if I'm in a relationship, like I can get a little bit possessive. Like, I don't know. I can be selfish with my love sometimes. So I was very much in a disagreement with how time should be spent and who it should be spent with. Let's just say I've had to deal with a lot of profane people that I rather would not have. So I struggle with like unconditional love for everyone sometimes because I do have certain expectations. I don't ask much, but I do ask for respect. Like, and when respect's not given, it's very hard to. It's hard to be cool about things. I feel like love is like a glue that keeps this chaos of cosmos together. It most definitely is. Because it's like, and that's where the true feminine power is that mother love. It's that unconditional love. Like, and the father energy is like that too, of course. But the universe itself is very feminine. It's very primordial in that aspect, and that whole feminine energy, it's a loving, nurturing energy. And even though the world is in chaos, even though there's crazy shit happening all over the world all the time, at the end of the day, that love is there. The mother always protects her child no matter what struggles, no matter what obstacles come up in life. So yeah, love is the glue that holds everything together, that holds the chaos together, most definitely. I mean, I've experienced something like that on psychedelics. Psychedelics are interesting, aren't they? Experience something like what? I guess we've talked about a lot of different things. Oh, the love thing. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I used to be in a Grateful Dead tribute band. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. But yeah, psychedelics can reveal it reveals the interconnectedness of all things, and sometimes a very profound way. And yeah, I knew there was somebody that that was doing like DMT at our campsite. I think it was his first time ever doing it, and he he wanted to give everybody hugs, and he was just in such a loving, peaceful state of mind because he had seen it was just he was like, this is God right here. We are God. And he was just, I could tell that he was having his ultimate like waking up type moment. Now, psychedelics are cool, but there is also like a very like negative more of a downside to them when they're not used as like a sacred sacrament and they're used more as like a party thing. And that's part of why I kind of left that community of people. I used to play a lot of music at music festivals and stuff, but I just kind of started to watch the lifestyle of those kinds of people. and how they choose to want to live their whole lives. And I just couldn't agree with it anymore. And I had a lot of people that were close to me in life, and they wanted to continue doing that all the time. And I'm like, you know, guys, I'm starting to get, like, I'm 33 now. I'm getting older. Like, I've got a son to take care of and stuff. Like, I don't really want to go out and party and do that kind of stuff anymore. And that's not what that stuff's meant for anyway. It's meant for a profound inner spiritual experience, and it's not a party thing. You know, at least that's how I view it. So there's a lot of people abusing psychedelics in a very, like, strange kind of way. Yeah, trying to use them as like a party drug almost, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It should be a very sacred, profound, and safe experience. You should be able to feel really safe. And music festivals do facilitate that. They do facilitate some safety in you being able to have like that shamanic experience, but there's also a downside, negative side to all of it out there. And I think everyone becomes kind of guinea pigs to some extent, especially with the distribution of different, you know, substances and stuff. And people start getting into harder stuff, or stuff that's disconnects you from spirit rather than connects you to your spirit. So there's a whole darker side to that. The whole, you know, music lifestyle and getting into all that sort of thing. You can definitely lose yourself to a lot of that sort of influence. I don't know if any of you resonate with that or not, but like I'm all about people doing what they want to do, but also I've seen people act really foolish too, and just I'm not really sure what they're going for in life. Like, you know, being a performer of music is one thing, but I don't just want to run around to music festivals and, you know, be one of those wild and crazy people. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I started to lose. It started to lose its purpose. It started to lose its sacredness. I live in Finland, and we have psilocybin shrooms only in autumn. So every year, every autumn, I collect them from nature. A few times a year has been a very good thing for me. That's awesome. That's very awesome. And the fact that you collect them yourself, I mean, that's more sacred, right? I totally understand what you're saying. Psychedelics can be misused and abused. Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. And there's a lot of people who claim to be like spiritual people in the hippie community, but then they're not even able to have like a conversation with me. A lot of the times I had people, they're like, oh, you got negative vibes, man. Or like they'd be upset or scared if I started talking about demons or like, you know, darker type teachings. And they're like, oh, only positive vibes around here, man. Like it almost gets to a point where it's like the people are just stupefying themselves. I don't even know if stupefying is the right word to use for that. But yeah, anyway. Guys, I did not think I would be going this long tonight. It's been almost 2 hours again. So like another 11 minutes and it'll be 2 hours of a live stream, which is awesome. Because I've been wanting to get some more watch hours on the channel, because I don't make any money from YouTube yet. I've made money from Patreon. I've probably made like $350 maybe from Patreon at max. Maybe. I don't even know if I've made that much. That's a guesstimate. But YouTube is really kind of tough on their requirements. So I just got to get those watch hours up. So if anybody has any last comments, anything they want to ask, anything they want to add to the conversation, and then I'm probably going to go ahead and flip this off and just enjoy the rest of my night. Get some good sleep, because I work that good old 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. again tomorrow. So today was a pretty productive day for me. I finally got my printer set up and I got some things done. I got some documents printed that I needed to get printed. Things I'd kind of been like not looking so forward to, but it always feels better when you get them done, you know? It always feels good if you don't procrastinate things too long. Kind of get ahead of things if you can. W stream as always. What is W stream? Am I still doing ritual work? I do, but not a lot. I was actually working with an entity's energy this morning, and I had a pretty profound experience. The main message that I got from it was that we create our own hells, and I was kind of actually shown some hell realms through vision, and it was like people were stuck in the ground, people were stuck in like the sands or something, and it was like the message was we create our own hells, and it was these people were not able to lift their spirits enough, they were not able to lift their consciousness enough, and some of them were people I know in real life, and they couldn't seem to get out of the rut. And I was shown other visions and stuff, and some of it was really meant for me, the experiences that I had. I did do a lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram also as well, you know, with the archangels and stuff. I haven't done any invocations on just like a single angel with like a sigil or anything like that, but I did do an LIRP this morning. So lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. So I do invocations occasionally. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. If there's nothing else, I'll give it just another minute or so, and then I'll go ahead and wrap this video up. But thank you all for being here. Thank you for being a part of the video. Thank you for being a part of the chat. It means so much, as always. What else was I gonna say? Oh, make sure you go and check out the Patreon if you haven't checked out the Patreon yet. Ipsissimus says, appreciate you, Tyler. Thanks for your content. You're very welcome. You are very welcome. Now, you don't have any videos, do you? Do you have any YouTube videos going on? That's what I was asking Hermetic Flux earlier, if Hermetic had any videos. Knowledge 2020 says, good live stream, brother. See you next time. Yes, see you, brother, as well. Thank you for staying tuned in this whole time. I didn't know if you were still on here or not. And I think you were the first one in the chat this time. So thanks for holding on tight, brother. And Ipsissimus says, nope, I don't have videos, at least not yet. So definitely let me know if you do start posting videos. That would be really, really cool. Genevieve sends another fairy. I think that's what that is, isn't it? It's so tiny I can barely see it. Yep, tiny little fairy. I like it though. It's cute. It's like a little Tinkerbell. All right, everyone. Peace and blessings. And until next time, take care.